During my wedding, my fiancé Mark's old girlfriend, Chloe, showed private pictures of them together on a large screen. Everyone watching was stunned. I went up to her, very angry. But Mark told me, Chloe is just acting childish. Why are you so upset? I couldn't understand. His ex spoiled my wedding and he thought I shouldn't be mad? Because he let her off easy, Chloe even got physical with me, yelling, "You deaf girl, how dare you marry Mark?" Okay, I decided, I won't marry him, but you two won't get away with this. At my own wedding, the big screen suddenly started showing pictures of Mark with Chloe. The person running the event quickly shut it off, but everyone had already seen. Standing on the stage, I looked down at Chloe sitting at a table. She wore a white dress, like she was the bride. I was furious. I walked over and slapped her. Mark saw it and shoved me hard, asking, Chloe's just being silly. Do you need to be this mad? I nearly fell down. I looked at Mark in disbelief. Chloe held her cheek where I hit her, tears filling her eyes. Mark, she cried, I hope you'll be happy. I can live without you. Tears fell as Chloe ran off sadly. Mark immediately wanted to go after her. Mark! I called out, my voice shaking. The wedding just started and he was going to leave me here in front of everyone? Mark stopped for a second, seeing the situation, but only paused briefly. He turned back and said, Let's delay the wedding for half an hour. I'll be right back. I watched, shocked, as he left. My parents came to comfort me. They told me to be patient and wait. But I had a feeling Mark wouldn't return in 30 minutes. And he didn't. An hour went by and he was still gone. I felt like a fool in front of everyone. Sorry, everyone, I announced. Today's wedding is now a birthday party. It's my 25th birthday today. Please enjoy the cake. I'll return all the wedding gifts later. I hope you have a good time. I did my best to keep things calm for both families. After the guests left, Mark's mother went home without a word. My parents were very angry. I had tried to comfort them. After taking them back to their hotel, I felt completely worn out. I couldn't stop myself from calling Mark. It took 6 tries before he answered with a video call. When the camera showed his face, Chloe was right there beside him. Mark, you need to come back, I said. The wedding is a mess. Anna will be mad. Chloe just laughed nastily. She really tries hard to please you, she sneered. My heart hurt. I didn't want to hear them anymore, so I quickly ended the call. 30 minutes later, Mark called me back, but I didn't pick up. That night, I stayed with my parents at their hotel. After midnight, Mark called again and again, but I silenced my phone. The next morning, my parents looked at me, worried. I forced a smile. Mom, Dad, you should go home first. I can handle this. My mother felt bad for me. You dated him for 3 years, she said, clearly unhappy with Mark. You even got the marriage license. I hugged her. Mom, I'm sorry the wedding was ruined. I'm going to divorce Mark. My parents lived far away for work and had come back just for my wedding, only to see me embarrassed. They were understanding people and saw how Mark had hurt me, so they supported my choice. But they worried I'd be too sad alone and wanted to stay. It took some effort to convince them to leave. My parents love me so much. I didn't want them to see my pain and suffer too. When I got back to my apartment from the airport, Mark was there waiting. His hair was damp and he was wearing a suit, looking like he'd just showered. Anna, this is for you, he said, handing me a box. Inside was a blue gem necklace. I just looked at him silently. He had often done this before, get me angry, then give me jewelry, like hitting me, then offering candy. I used to fall for it and let him make it better. But things felt different after last night. It's too expensive, I said. I can't take it. Mark smiled like it was nothing. We're married now. What's mine is yours. Why can't you accept it? I stared right at him. He finally gave in. Okay, I'm sorry, honey. I was wrong last night. You know, Chloe and I were together for 6 years. She couldn't accept our marriage right away. I was worried she couldn't handle it. So you just left me? I asked him straight. Mark frowned, annoyed. I already explained it. What more do you want? My heart sank. I want an apology. What? Chloe set up that screen yesterday to embarrass me. I know she gave them the photos. She hurt me. Shouldn't she say sorry to me? Mark looked unhappy. Anna, don't make such a big deal. I told you. Chloe just doesn't understand things. My heart felt broken hearing him defend her. There's some trouble at work, he said suddenly. So I can't go on the honeymoon trip with you today. We'll talk later. Mark adjusted his suit and walked out. I didn't even get a chance to mention divorce. Mark was an older student I met in college. The school introduced us at an event 3 years ago, and he pursued me strongly. Back then, I thought he was grown up and caring, so getting together felt natural. Later, looking through old school forums online, I learned Mark and Chloe were once a famous couple at school. They dated from their first year until 2 years after college, breaking up because they didn't get along. 6 years together was a long time, but that wasn't a good reason for Mark to leave me during our wedding. As I thought about it, I called Sam, Mark's assistant. Is something wrong at the company? Sam sounded confused. No, Mark planned everything so he could go on the honeymoon with you. Okay, I understand. Thanks for your help, I said. I packed my bags and moved back to my own apartment. After calming down, I went back to school to work on my modeling projects. I kept my phone off during this time. When I finished working that evening, Mark was waiting at my door. As soon as he saw me, he looked impatient. Anna, can you please stop causing trouble? I looked at him calmly and mentioned getting the divorce papers ready. Mark seemed to think it was funny. He asked if someone like me from another country or with a disability could really do better without him. He pointed to the hearing aid behind my ear. I lost my hearing from a fever as a child and use it to hear. Mark knew this since we met. He used to say I was brave and positive, but now he used my weakness to hurt me. It made me very disappointed. I told him sincerely I wasn't just being difficult, but Mark was sure I'd come back to him. He acted like it was just a small fight, even offering to have another wedding. He sounded like he was looking down on me, like I was lucky to be with him. I told him the truth, but he wouldn't believe me. Mark made fun of how I lived, asking if my clothes were from a cheap store. He pointed out I never wore fancy brands in our 3 years together or carried anything but simple cloth bags. He even mentioned my parents wore simple clothes at the wedding. He made guesses about my family's money and my hearing disability, thinking my wish for divorce was just me being difficult. His words were so silly they almost made me laugh. I moved back from China when I was young. Where I grew up, people cared more about being comfortable than wearing brand names. I never cared much about designer things. As for bags, I liked practical cloth bags because they were simple and good for the environment. I never thought Mark would judge my whole life based on these choices. It was almost funny. Who says rich people have to be showy? I'll be at the office tomorrow at 9, I told him. We can go to the divorce office together. We saw life very differently, so I didn't argue more. I opened my door and went inside. Mark tried to follow, but I quickly shut the door, hitting his nose by accident. Mark yelled from outside, frustrated, saying I wasn't being reasonable and that he'd tried to be nice, but I was still making trouble. I leaned against the door, listening calmly to his hopeless words. Just a month ago, we were happily planning our honeymoon trip. Now things were so ugly. My phone buzzed. It was a friend request from Chloe. I accepted. She immediately sent a message saying who she was, then sent 6 photos. The first 3 were recent, showing Mark cooking noodles in a kitchen. The other 3 were from our wedding day, Mark in his suit, serving water to Chloe, who was lying in bed. It made me feel sick. Trying not to feel disgusted, I replied, I've never seen someone with so little shame, trying to ruin a marriage. Chloe sent back a cute face emoji. She wrote that Mark didn't blame me, saying I loved him so much and was good at making him happy. She asked if I really couldn't live without him. I replied shortly, our relationship is not your business. Chloe then proudly sent another message, bragging she could get him to come with just 1 call. Right then, Mark's phone rang outside my door. He said something quietly, then stopped knocking and quickly left. I peeked outside and saw his car driving away. 15 minutes later, Chloe sent a photo showing Mark getting out of his car and walking towards her. You were with him for 6 years, lots of sweet times, she messaged. Do you really think you can keep his heart? After that, Chloe posted online. After 6 years apart, the heart still feels something. The picture was of the blue gem necklace Mark had tried to give me, which I'd left on the table when I moved out. I felt suddenly sick and blocked both Chloe and Mark on my phone. The next day, I went to Mark's company to see him. The receptionist must have heard about the wedding disaster. She looked at me with pity, but I stayed calm. Mark didn't answer his phone, so I asked Sam to tell him I was waiting downstairs. 2 hours later, Mark slowly came down. Seeing me, his annoyance was clear. Anna, being so dramatic will only make things worse for you, he said. With a firm voice, I told him, let's get a divorce. I don't want to talk anymore. Many workers walked by and heard me. Maybe feeling embarrassed, Mark agreed to the divorce. I had driven my car, so I drove him to the divorce office myself. The car ride was silent and tense. I didn't look at him once. Finally, seeing I was serious, Mark's voice softened. He begged, honey, I know I was wrong. Please give me another chance. He reached for my hand, but I pulled it away. His normally confident eyes now looked sad. For 3 years, he had been my future. Yet he hurt me so much. I purposely looked away and ignored him. At a red light, his phone rang suddenly. When he answered, I could hear Chloe's voice. His face tensed up and he glanced at me without thinking. At that exact moment, a car bumped us from behind. Thankfully, it was just a small hit. 2 strong-looking men got out of the back car, staring angrily as they walked towards us. Mark got out. Instead of dealing with the other driver, he told me, Chloe slipped at home. I need to go check on her. You handle the driver, then drive back yourself. He tried to kiss me gently, but I turned my head away coldly. He paused, looked annoyed, then quickly ran towards a bus that was about to leave. In the hot summer sun, my heart felt cold. The driver from the car behind saw I was the only woman there and boldly demanded a huge amount of money right away, even though they hit me and my car was fine. Their car's headlights were broken and the bumper was loose. I was furious at how aggressive and unfair they were and said I would call the police. Suddenly, one of the men, who was bald, took a large wrench from his car and swung it at me without warning. I quickly jumped back, only to be pushed down hard by the other man from the same car. I fell, unprepared, feeling a sharp pain in my stomach and warmth flowing down my leg. At the same time, the wrench hit my back hard. The heavy ache mixed with the sharp pain in my stomach made my mind fuzzy. Seeing me bleeding on the ground, the men who hit me got scared and quickly drove away. A kind person passing by called for an ambulance and the police. In the hospital, they told me I was in danger of losing the baby. The baby's condition was very serious. If I wanted to try and keep it, I needed to stay in the hospital right away for treatment. If not, I needed surgery soon to recover safely. Please schedule the surgery for me, doctor, I said. On my 4th day in the hospital, I happened to see Sam. He said his mother needed surgery. That evening, Mark arrived, looking messy, and he wasn't alone. Chloe came too. Anna, he came to my bedside looking guilty. I'm sorry. If I hadn't left, we wouldn't have lost our child. I laughed coldly. Don't worry. Even without this accident, I would have ended the pregnancy. Mark's face changed. Chloe couldn't stand it and jumped in. Anna, you can't even hear without help. You're disabled. How can you push away a great man like Mark? I smirked, raising my eyebrows at Chloe. You only get a chance if I divorce Mark. Now you're acting like this? Chloe's face went pale and she shut up. Mark gathered himself. Anna, I brought Chloe here to apologize to you. He motioned to Chloe. Unwillingly, Chloe mumbled, I'm sorry. It was my fault your wedding was ruined. It was all my fault. I watched them put on this act with interest. I learned today that Mark had taken Chloe on a business trip recently and made her his main secretary. Mark, I said, I just want a clean divorce with you. You're the boss of a company. If I tell the news reporters things I shouldn't, it might hurt your reputation as a businessman. Mark was completely surprised by my words. Dislike showed in his eyes. Fine, let's divorce, but don't come crawling back to me later. I gave a small smile. I will never regret this. Early the next morning, I eagerly set up a time with Mark to go to the divorce office. When we finished the paperwork, I felt much lighter. Chloe got out of a car to meet the newly divorced Mark, looking very happy. As we went our separate ways, Mark turned to me. How will you manage without me? Once I felt better, I threw myself into my work. The math modeling work for the dam my professor designed was almost finished. The government was going to ask companies to bid on building it, and many companies wanted to meet me to get the dam construction details. Anna, the one company wants to meet you. When are you free? The one company, founded by Mark. I didn't know they were trying to get this project too. To save time, I told my assistant, Jack, to tell all bidding companies to meet together. No private meetings. The meeting was in a conference room at the school. When I walked in, the leaders of all the bidding companies were there. Building this dam was a huge project, costing about $4.5 billion. Ari, companies bidding on public projects like this could make good money and also get a good name. So, the people there were all important bosses. Anna, Chloe, and Mark sat together near the front. When they saw me, they looked annoyed. This isn't a place for you, Chloe said, thinking I was there to cause trouble. Mark stood up, walked over, and warned me, Anna, we're divorced now. Don't mess up my business. I chuckled. Mark, it's only been 2 months and you're still so sure of yourself. Mark stared at me, suspicious. Jack came over. Mark, please sit down first. Anna will explain everything. No private meetings. Mark looked confused. Jack introduced me. Hello, everyone. This is my PhD advisor, Anna. She is the main engineer in charge of the math modeling for this dam project. She will share the necessary information with you all. Mark and Chloe's faces changed instantly. As they stared at me, shocked, I walked to the front and started explaining the project details. When the meeting was over, Mark rushed up to me. You're the chief modeling engineer? How old are you? I asked back calmly. Mark, haven't you heard of smart young people? My father is famous in math, and my mother is well known in construction. Growing up around them, I loved math from a young age. I skipped grades and got my PhD early. After finishing school in China, my parents suggested I come back here to work as a professor at a university and do some math modeling work. Maybe because I loved math my whole life, Mark was my first real love. I didn't know much about relationships and didn't notice how Mark often ignored important parts of my life. He never asked about my family, never cared about my work, and never included me with his friends. Looking back, the sweet moments also came with him not really caring. Luckily, I have nothing to do with him now. I turned and walked away. From behind me, Chloe questioned, She must be lying. Isn't she only 25? She's younger than us. Who does she think she's fooling? To celebrate finishing my work, the school leaders held a dinner party that evening. By chance, I ran into Mark there. He was dressed nicely, walking with a group of important-looking people. When he saw the school leaders, he came to our table to say hello. He looked surprised to see me. The school leader who had introduced me to Mark years ago was there too. As Mark sat down, the leader started talking. Mark, I know Anna is a talented young woman. I introduced you two hoping for the best. You dated for 3 years, and I was glad things seemed serious. But I didn't expect you to act so confused at the wedding. Did you know she's actually a PhD professor the school hired for a high salary? Mark looked stunned. She's so young. I always thought she was just an exchange student. The school leader frowned. Who said she was an exchange student? She's a math modeling expert, worked on many projects, has several patents. She could live off those alone. And both her parents are famous professors. Mark's face showed total disbelief. I, on the other hand, felt a bit silly, realizing Mark must have thought I had problems and wasn't very smart because I dressed simply, assuming I was a poor exchange student. Teacher, Mark and I are not together anymore. Let's not talk about the past, I said. At the end of the party, Mark insisted on driving me home. I politely said no and called a taxi instead. But when I got home, Mark had gotten there before me and was standing at my door. Honey, he greeted me, acting like he forgot we were divorced. I looked at him calmly, smiling slightly to mock him. Mark, we are divorced. Mark tried to take my hand, but I pulled away like he was something dirty. Honey, I regret it. I haven't stopped thinking about you these past 2 months. Can we get back together? I found it funny. When we divorced, he said I would regret it. Now it seemed he was the one regretting. Whether he really felt that way or just wanted something, I couldn't tell anymore, and I didn't care. I didn't want to go back. I firmly refused him. In the days that followed, Mark kept showing up in my life. When I was working in the lab, he'd wait outside with flowers. When I taught my classes, he'd sit in the back like a quiet student, watching me. He even appeared at my house in the morning with breakfast. His constant presence was annoying. When Mark showed up again, I told him directly, I won't interfere in the bidding. It all depends on how good the one company is. Mark's face fell. Anna, I truly regret what happened, and it has nothing to do with the bidding. After a short silence, I looked up, my eyes calm but firm. But I don't love you anymore. Mark's eyes looked sad, and he didn't come see me the next day. However, that night, I got a call from an unknown number. It was Chloe, crying on the phone, asking me to pick up Mark from a bar and take him home. I thought it was strange and hung up immediately. The next day, Chloe came to the school to find me. She pressured me, hinting that I could easily influence the bidding process with my contacts. She suggested I should help Mark because we used to love each other. Feeling tired of it all, I started to leave for my class. Chloe desperately warned me, "You'll regret not helping." I stopped, turned back to look at Chloe, saw the anger in her pretty face, and smiled. Since they were determined to make my life hard, I decided to act first. Before going into my classroom, I posted the messages Chloe had sent me online, along with pictures of her and Mark. By acting quickly, I not only stopped the rumors she might spread, but also showed everyone what she and Mark had done. With this incident out in the open, the chances of Mark's company getting the contract seemed very small. Soon, the school was having its anniversary celebration. Following Jack's advice, I bought some nice clothes. On the day of the party, I wore a formal white evening dress and joined other past students for a happy time. Someone came towards me, and Mark's eyes focused on me. Anna, you look beautiful, he complimented. I just raised an eyebrow. I knew I looked okay. I just usually didn't spend much time on dressing up or makeup. Mark's face softened a little. He explained that Chloe had spread the rumors online without him knowing. I shrugged, not caring. Doesn't matter, I still got back at you both. Chloe had posted lies on the school forum, saying I left Mark after becoming successful, used him, and spent his money. In response, I showed proof of her ruining my wedding and Mark's affair. Jack also posted about my accomplishments to show I was successful before I even met Mark and had plenty of savings. I had proof, including photos of Mark and Chloe at a hotel on the same dates I was in the hospital after losing the baby. This finally silenced the nasty pair. Mark looked full of regret. Can we still go back? He asked. I acted surprised, remembering how he claimed to love Chloe deeply for 6 years. You regret it, Mark? Can you give me another chance? A young man with intense, powerful eyes and bright features that still looked a bit boyish appeared. It's you, he said, surprised. Anna, he shouted excitedly. The school leaders looked at each other, then asked me, Anna, do you know Leo? I smiled at Leo. We actually met when we were teenagers. My parents thought my school's math wasn't fast enough, so they sent me to a tutoring class in China during holidays. We met there and later again at an international math competition. After that, my PhD work got busy, and I lost touch with him. Leo was much more excited to see me, coming forward to give me a tight hug. It's so great to see you. I was happy too, after all this time. The school leaders were right. Leo was clearly a brilliant student. While we were chatting happily, Mark, who was standing nearby, looked very unhappy. But nobody paid attention to him. Since I posted about the incident with him and Chloe online, his reputation had dropped badly. Even teachers who used to be proud of him now acted like they didn't know him, including the school leaders. Mark looked like he wanted to join our chat, but Leo and I only talked about math problems, so he couldn't say anything. After a bit, Chloe, all dressed up, came looking for Mark, but he avoided her with a serious face. When the party ended, Leo still wanted to talk more. He kept asking for my phone number, worried. Anna, you won't suddenly lose contact with me this time, right? I shook my head. I'm working at a university now. I signed a contract and won't leave for 5 years. Realizing he might seem too eager, Leo smiled apologetically. We'll meet tomorrow then. Later, I found out that Leo had applied for a teaching job at a university and became my colleague. He even rented the house across the street from mine, becoming my neighbor. I'm not great at cooking, so naturally he started cooking for me every day. Soon, besides work, he was almost always with me. I'm not stupid. I could tell he had feelings for me. I had just ended a bad relationship and didn't want to rush into another one. Luckily, Leo didn't push it, just discussed math problems with me daily. I found this kind of life really nice, but Mark was still hanging around sometimes. The one corporation lost the chance to bid for the dam project, which was a big blow to Mark. I heard from colleagues that he spent a week drinking at a bar and even broke up with Chloe. I'm a direct person. Since we were divorced, his problems weren't my concern. I just wanted to focus on my research. But trouble was quietly building up. The accident happened as I was walking out of the elevator like usual. A man in a gray jacket suddenly came at me with a long knife. I jumped back instinctively. I dodged frantically left and right in the small elevator space. It's all your fault. It's all your fault. You took my place. I recognized him, one of the PhD students hired around the same time as me. He had studied at a top university but worked on math modeling here. The school leaders felt he wasn't creative enough for the job. You idiot! Go to hell! He yelled, swinging the knife at me again. This time it cut my arm. Blood poured out instantly. I screamed for help, but no one was around. As he swung the knife a third time, aiming for my head, a man in a suit rushed over and pushed him aside. Anna, run! Run now! For a second, I was frozen. It was Mark. The attacker's eyes were red with fury, and he fought wildly with Mark. I saw the janitor appear at the elevator entrance. She ran out and grabbed her mop, hitting the attacker hard. The attacker yelled in pain, turned, and glared at me with hateful, murderous eyes, like he wanted to tear me apart. Mark held him tight, stopping him from getting free to attack me. Just then, I heard the sickening sound of the knife going into Mark's stomach. It made my skin crawl. Almost right away, blood came from the corner of Mark's mouth, but he still looked at me and smiled weakly. My blood ran cold, almost forgetting the danger. Thankfully, school security guards rushed in then and stopped the attacker's crazy actions. As we waited for the ambulance, I pressed hard on Mark's wound. Mark, don't die, please, I begged. Mark weakly squeezed my hand, his eyes fixed on mine. Anna, can you forgive me? I replied calmly. You can only earn my forgiveness by staying alive. Mark was rushed to the hospital for emergency surgery. The PhD student was arrested. When Leo arrived, I was standing outside the operating room, covered in blood. Your arm, he said, worried. I glanced at my arm, now wrapped in bandages, cleaned and stitched up. It's okay. Leo stared at me with concern, his eyes also fixed worriedly on the lit-up operating room sign. After 5 long hours, the tired doctor came out. The patient's will to live was strong. If he could safely get through the next 24 critical hours, everything should be okay. Leo and I both sighed with relief. Just as we were about to leave after arranging for a helper for Mark, Sam, and Chloe rushed over. Seeing me, Chloe tried to come over and slap me, but Leo stopped her, grabbing her wrist. Chloe screamed in anger. You evil woman! Hasn't Mark suffered enough because of you? He risked his life for you, and you want to leave just like that? Life isn't that easy. I watched Chloe's meltdown coldly and signaled to Leo for us to leave. Leo pushed Chloe away and quickly caught up with me. On the way back, he hesitated, but I knew what he wanted to ask. Would I go back to Mark now that he risked his life to save me? I shook my head firmly. No, I said. I wouldn't feel like I owed Mark my life in that old-fashioned way. There are many ways to repay kindness, and I wouldn't choose one that made me feel sick inside. Back home, Leo helped me wash up since I couldn't move my arm much. His face was red the whole time. He looked quite cute. Waiting through the next 24 hours was hard, but when we heard Mark had woken up, Leo and I went to the hospital together. Mark's face turned even paler when he saw Leo and me walk in together. I went to his bedside and told him he shouldn't think about repaying favors or I would lose respect for him. With that, I ended any hope Mark might have had. This time, he saved me, which canceled out all the hurt he had caused before. Our score was even. Holding on to hate is tiring, and I didn't want to waste energy on someone not worth it. The moment you can walk into the one company on your own, I told him, will be the moment I forgive you. Mark listened silently and didn't say anything. After saying what I needed to, I left with Leo. A couple of weeks later, when Mark was released from the hospital, I went to pick him up myself. He was still living in the apartment he had prepared before we married. It was unchanged, with some of the little figures I had bought still in their original spots. And that blue gem necklace was still on the coffee table. Seeing my eyes land on the necklace, Mark remembered something. He explained that the necklace he gave Chloe was a copy, not the same as this one. I smiled calmly at him and suggested it was better to put the past behind us. Mark struggled to find words and sat down on the sofa where my old pink pillow still lay. I called a housekeeper for him, telling him to rest at home until he was fully recovered. When the housekeeper arrived, I left. As I was about to leave, Mark called out, "Anna, you know, right?" I looked at him calmly and said, "I knew. I knew the PhD student who attacked me felt frustrated, and Chloe had influenced him, blaming everything on me and plotting to harm me." Mark nodded, his face blank. He apologized for underestimating how nasty Chloe could be. "Sorry," he said. After a short silence, in a pained voice, he admitted, "The danger you faced was because I still had ties to Chloe, making her hate you so much. It was my fault for keeping that connection." With that, he lowered his head. "I'm sorry, Anna." I glanced out the door and saw it was raining. Leo stood outside holding an umbrella, waiting for me in the downpour. I told Mark that Leo was waiting for me, said goodbye, and ran out into the rain without looking back, determined to move forward. Shortly after I got home, Sam called. He told me Mark had ignored the doctor's orders and gone to the company. I chuckled slightly, knowing he was a grown man who could make his own choices. Sam hung up without saying more. Leo brought me a cup of warm ginger tea. "Drink this so you don't catch a cold," he said. After sipping the tea, I showed Leo an invitation I had received for a big math seminar about a famous problem. "Do you want to go?" I asked. Leo chuckled. "I got an invitation too. We'll go together." While Mark worked hard at his company, Leo and I explored the world of mathematics together. 2 years later, when my contract with the university ended, Leo nervously asked if I would stay for him. I nodded, agreeing to stay. My relationship with Leo wasn't full of drama. Everything felt calm and natural, like flowing water. He really, truly suited me. The dark clouds from my past had finally cleared. No one would use my weaknesses to hurt me again. Mark's thoughts. Extra. When I first saw Anna, she seemed like an angel, so clean and innocent. Who wouldn't want to be with a girl like that? I chased her hard. She seemed totally new to love, showing all her happiness openly. She wanted to marry me. After we got married, somehow, I became careless. At the wedding, I made a terrible choice. I thought because she was innocent and gentle, she would just wait quietly at home for me. When I got back and she acted differently, I still wasn't too worried. I thought she'd stay home, listen to me. I even thought her talk about divorce was just her being angry for a bit. So when Chloe called after the car accident, I left Anna to deal with it alone. Chloe hadn't lied. She had slipped in the shower at home. When I found her, she was lying there, legs bruised, unable to move. I carried her to bed. She tried to hug me, but I pushed her away. It felt wrong. She looked at me sadly, asking, "Mark, don't you love me anymore?" I told her coldly, I stopped loving you when you broke up with me. Chloe cried sadly. I didn't come from money. My dad sold vegetables. My mom was just a housewife. I worked hard for everything I have. When I was first starting my business, Chloe saw me struggling. I had no money, lived in a cheap basement, ate instant noodles. She couldn't handle that life for even 3 months and left me. When I was at my lowest, she abandoned me. I heard later from friends she only came back to me after her rich boyfriend dumped her. My pride drove me. I wanted to show her how well I was doing now, not just my job, but also having a loving wife. I proudly took her on that business trip. That night, I was drunk and asleep, and she ended up in my bed. Something happened that shouldn't have. I felt awful. Then Sam called telling me Anna lost the baby and was in the hospital. I learned about the horrible attack she faced the day I left her. I saw her in the hospital. She looked pale and weak. I brought Chloe to apologize, but it just made things worse. I could feel Anna pulling away. After the divorce, the school leader told me how brilliant Anna really was. That made me realize how shallow and proud I had been. Even with her hearing problem, she never felt less than anyone. She lived so brightly. And me? I disgustingly tried to use her hearing issue to make her feel unsure, hoping she'd depend on me. The truth showed I was the real fool. I gave Chloe money to make her leave me alone, but she wouldn't let go. Instead, she blamed Anna for my lack of interest and secretly encouraged that unstable doctor to hurt Anna. Saving her life felt like the only right thing I could do. Anna said the moment she'd forgive me was when I could recover and walk back into my company. The day I got out of the hospital, I went straight to the one company as fast as I could. Anna, did you forgive me then? When Chloe was sentenced, I went to see her one last time. Anna was with Leo. They looked perfect together. Chloe paused, then burst out laughing uncontrollably. Good. So good, she spat out. If I can't be happy, neither can you. I looked at her coldly. You're twisted. Stay in prison for the rest of your life and think about what you did. Chloe's face contorted with anger, and she cursed at me. Later, I heard Anna had a daughter who looked like Leo. I thought, she's probably another math genius.